Good evening and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you guys on this Wednesday evening. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel, bottom right hand corner. So on the show tonight, we're going to be exploring Manchester United's pursuit for a new midfielder. We're going to be running through some of the names that look likely to be considered. And we're also going to be talking about a shock midfielder who has been entered into the conversation. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about the battle for Evan Ferguson, obviously the very, very talented 18-year-old currently playing his football at Brighton. And we will also be giving you some fresh injury news ahead of the game against Everton on Sunday afternoon. As always, get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat, and let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on this evening's show. So let's start the show off with some positivity. Now, obviously, we spoke about this a couple of times already, and that is Luke Shaw. We can confirm 100% that Luke Shaw trained today with the Manchester United first team, and he will be available for selection for the game against Everton on Sunday. Will he start or not? We'll have to wait and see, but he was training on the grass with the rest of the team in proper training, which is so positive. Really, really happy about that. And the other big news around the injuries is that Onana is available. He is training also today as well. So Onana and Luke Shaw are both available for this game on Sunday. I think that both of them should probably play. If they're fit enough to play, then start them. I think obviously Luke Shaw's been out for a good couple of months, but I imagine they've been slowly bringing him back behind the scenes. I think that a left-back position is the kind of position that you don't really change like halfway through a game. It's not like an attacker where you say, oh, let's try something different and bring on another left-back. I think you either start with Luke Shaw, or maybe if there's 5-10 minutes left of the game and you're winning, you bring him on. I don't think there's really any other world where you could say, oh, let's bring on Luke Shaw after 20 minutes to give him a bit of time. Like, it doesn't really work like that, does it? So I think either he has to start, or maybe he'll come on for the last 5 or so minutes of the game. Now, obviously, after the Everton fixture, we've then got Galatasaray away. So the games are going to come thick and fast. We've got Galatasaray away, then we've got, I think it's Newcastle away, and then we've got Bayern Munich away. We've got Bayern Munich at home. We've got 4 massive fixtures in the space of 2 weeks. It's really going to be intense. And I think the thing that Erik ten Hag and his staff will be considering is, if we bring Luke Shaw back too early, do we run the risk of injuring him? Obviously, as I said, Everton away on Sunday, then Galatasaray away, and then Newcastle United away in the Premier League. I mean, those 3 games alone are huge. Then you've got a Chelsea fixture at home. Again, massive game. That's a must-win game against Chelsea, really, isn't it? And then we've got Bournemouth at home, which again is a must-win game. Like, of the next 5 fixtures, I would say Chelsea and Bournemouth are the must-win games just because we're at home. Obviously, we want to beat Everton. I think Galatasaray is going to be very tough. They're a difficult side. Obviously, they beat us at home. We've never beaten Galatasaray away from home. And the point I'm trying to make here is we need Luke Shaw for as many of those fixtures as possible. And does Erik ten Hag think maybe if I bring him back too early, he might get injured again and then he might be out for longer? That is obviously a possibility. So we'll have to wait and see. But Luke Shaw and Onana are back on the grass. They're both available, so that's really positive. So really happy about that. Somebody in the chat's asking about Lisandro Martinez. So Martinez didn't train today, but he did watch the training session. There's been a bit of confusion in the media and on some platforms and stuff where they've been saying that Martinez is back. Lisandro Martinez is not back. He just watched the training session. His leg brace thing is off his foot, so that's obviously got to be a positive sign. I still think he's expected to be back in January, though. So anybody of you who sat there thinking, oh, great, we're going to see Martinez on Sunday, that will not happen. He is still 100% injured. I think best case scenario would be we'd see him back at the end of December, early January. So let's just keep our fingers and toes crossed that there's no complications with Martinez's injury, because I really think once you've got Martinez and Luke Shaw back in that defence, it's going to really change things. Even if Maguire does keep his place, I think a defence of Luke Shaw, Martinez, Maguire and Wan-Bissaka is so much stronger than what we've seen over the last couple of months. I mean, at one point we had Lindelof at left back, Johnny Evans, Harry Maguire and Diogo Dalot. And to be honest with you, other than Maguire, who, let's be honest, is doing quite well right now, I don't think any of those other 3, Evans, Dalot and Lindelof, are the starting defence, are they? Martinez is. Luke Shaw is. Wan-Bissaka was. So to be slowly starting to bring back the core of this team is really, really good. Obviously, Casemiro is another big injury issue. He won't be back until the new year either. So I think everyone just try and take a bit of a deep breath on Casemiro and Martinez. We're just going to have to be very, very patient with them. But people are starting to slowly come back from injury, which is obviously really, really positive. Let me know what you guys are all thinking about that as well. Let me know how much of a big boost you think Onana and Luke Shaw coming back are. For me, I think it's huge. I think they're two of our most important players. I think Onana has really, really grown over the last couple of weeks after that penalty save against Copenhagen. And I think he is finally starting to show the performances of why we brought him to Manchester United from Inter Milan for all of that money. But moving on to the next story, let's talk a little bit about Evan Ferguson. Now, anybody who watches the show will know how much of a fan I am of Evan Ferguson. Obviously, 18 years of age, plays his football for Brighton. He is an unbelievable player, I think. I really, really like Evan Ferguson. The latest on him is that Manchester United are interested. But the problem with this is he is going to cost a fortune. He just signed a new 6-year deal. And the headline coming out this morning is that Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, Tottenham and Liverpool will all battle for the signing of Evan Ferguson. It says the Irish international signed a new 6-year deal that runs until 2029 and Brighton value him at around £100 million, which could even rise further. I mean, it's mad, isn't it? £100 million. They only signed him at the beginning of last season. How many goals did he get last year? Maybe 8? I guess people will say, though, right, we signed Rasmus Højlund for 70 million and he scored, I think, 9 goals in professional football. And Evan Ferguson has scored 5 goals in 11 Premier League games already this season. Like, that is a really, really good return to be scoring a goal every other game in the Premier League for Brighton. Like, that is good. There's no doubt about that. But is that £100 million worth of player? I'm not too sure. I mean, you look at his stats from last year. He got 6 goals in 19 games. That's a goal every 3 games. £100 million? I'm not sure. Brighton are playing some unbelievable football. If that was for Manchester United at the moment, right, I would say, yeah, he's worth 100 million. The fact that Rasmus Højlund has scored 0, the fact that none of our strikers get any opportunities, but you know in that Brighton side, these players get opportunities. Now, I'm not by any means saying that he's not a good player. I'm just saying that I'm sure if you stuck Rasmus Højlund in the Brighton side, he would have scored the same amount of goals as Evan Ferguson because they actually create opportunities for him. Whereas Rasmus Højlund's, I think in the Premier League, he's had maybe, I would say 3 to 5 opportunities. I think he scored 1 or 2 of them and they were disallowed for VAR or whatever. I think he's maybe missed like 1 or 2 opportunity that he probably should have scored. Whereas Evan Ferguson will be getting probably an opportunity every single game. So I think 100 million is too much for me, but I can understand why they think 100 million is a fair price. For me, that's too much money. I think it's ridiculous. 100 million for an 18-year-old. But yeah, and Paul says he scored 3 goals in 1 game. I think it's too much money for me. And I think the fact that there's Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, all of these clubs are battling it out for him, that's only going to bump the price up more. And I think it would probably be more likely that someone like Tottenham goes in for him. You know, they've got all of this money from Harry Kane. They've got £100 million in the bank for Harry Kane. They haven't spent it. They need a new striker desperately. I think that would be a good bit of business for Tottenham. But I would like to see him. We'll just have to wait and see. Lumen says, Kieran, how important role should we expect from Maguire in the upcoming games? I'm telling you now, right, Harry Maguire has proved a lot of us wrong. He's proved me wrong. I was very critical about him. But what I will say about Harry Maguire is fair play to him on staying and battling for his place. He hasn't complained. He hasn't called out the manager on social media like some people have. He hasn't let his head drop. He's just worked hard. I still don't think he's good enough to be Manchester United centre-back going forward. But for this season, I think he probably is our best centre-back at the moment, genuinely. I think he's performed incredible when he's been asked upon. I think Varane's been poor. I think he's injury prone. Obviously, Martinez is out, so we can't really compare Martinez. But of what's available now, Lindelof, Evans, Harry Maguire is by far our best centre-back, especially with the form he's in. Obviously, he's been playing well for England as well, from what I can see. So we've just got to keep our fingers crossed that the form continues with Harry Maguire, because I think all it takes is one bad performance and it will just slowly start going back downhill again. I think he's that type of player that once he's got that bit of confidence, I think he's okay. But as soon as a couple of bad mistakes happen, he seems to be cursed. Carl says, Maguire never complained. Hats off to him. I think taking the captaincy off him really helps. Mate, I would agree with you 150%. I think the captaincy being taken away from him really, really took the limelight off Harry Maguire. I still think, he's not the level that Manchester United need. But at the moment, he's our best player, And all, to be honest with you, we all think that Manchester United are this great club and that we should be winning the league every season. But when you look through the spine of that team, we don't have a Champions League or a Premier League winning side at the moment. And I think that Harry Maguire is probably our level right now. Let's be honest. Like, we can all say, oh, he's not good enough. Get him out. Like, he probably is Manchester United's level at the moment. Let's be honest. We're not challenging for titles. We're about to get knocked out of the Champions League after losing to Copenhagen and Galatasaray the other week. Like, we aren't the team that people seem to think that we still are. And for the time being, I think Harry Maguire, has warranted a place in the squad. So fair play to him, fair play to it. The character he's shown, not complaining, and I respect him for that. I'm not going to be getting Maguire printed on a shirt or be singing his praises too much, but for the moment in time, we need him and we do rely on him. He seems to stay fit. He doesn't seem to get injured anymore, and hopefully he can continue for the second half of the season. Now, other centre-backs. Obviously, we've spoke about Jean-Claire Todibo numerous times on this channel, but there is a new name who has been thrown into the mix this afternoon. And I'll be honest, it's not a player I've heard of. I did a bit of research this afternoon and they look decent. The story's coming out from a couple of different journalists this afternoon. And I'll read out the headline for you right now. It says, Manchester United, Man City and Chelsea all want to sign Le Havre, centre-back, a French team. The player is called Aruna Sangate. It says the Senegal-born central defender, 21 years of age, is one of the hottest properties in French football and is firmly on the radar of the Premier League elite. He is the captain at Le Havre and is the youngest captain in Ligue 1. Le Havre are aware of the growing interest in Sangate, and club owner Vincent Volpe has given an exclusive mandate to FIFA agent Willie McKay to sell the player in January. So it looks like this guy is going to leave. I'll be honest, until this afternoon, I hadn't really heard of him. I don't really watch that much French league football. But from what I have seen of him today, I think he looks all right. I don't think he's world class. I don't think he is on the level of Jean-Claire Todibo or of Antonio Silva or Gonzalo Inacio, or any of these types of players. Would I take him at Manchester United? I don't really know, to be honest. I'm not going to sit here and pretend I know what I don't. Is this just a way of trying to bump up his price? Has his agent put out these clubs that are supposedly interested in him to try and get more attention? Probably. Will he end up at someone like Bournemouth or Luton? Probably. I think it's one of those ones, to be honest. I think Manchester United's name gets thrown into the mix so often, and 99.9% of the time the deals don't happen. And the only reason that this is done is because it bumps up the price of the player, It makes other clubs think that there's more interest than there is. They're creating a false market. They're creating a false narrative. And I think, to be honest, with this particular player, I think that is what's happening here. We know it's been widely reported that Todibo is the number one target. And I don't think we can look into this one too much. So I'm just going to push that one under the carpet. Obviously, maybe it will come back round in the future and there will be some truth to it. Maybe it's a cheap option. Who knows? We'll have to wait and see. But I'm not going to be, following that one up too much. But let me know what you guys think. Maybe some of you have heard of him. Let's see what else people are saying in the chat. The Unlimited says, we've got to stop the sympathy towards Harry Maguire after a few games. We need the best in class. Mate, I 100% agree we need the best in class, but we've got to be realistic of where we are. We're in the middle of a season. The transfer window is not even open. We might not even have Sir Jim and Ineos in place in January. So it's easy for us to say we need the best in class, but at the moment, there's so many other things that need to be sorted out behind the scenes. Royden says Southgate should do Maguire what he did to Ramsdale. And he also says that he wasn't very good against North Macedonia. I'll be honest with you, mate. I didn't watch the game against North Macedonia. I'm not massively interested in international football. I think it's, especially like the qualifiers, I just think it's a little bit boring. But thank you for letting me know. I really, really appreciate that. What else have we got here? Fred says Maguire has been helped by the form of the other centre-backs. Billy says, what's going on with the takeover, Kieran? When will it be announced? So let's jump over to the takeover really, really quickly. For anybody who's unaware, tomorrow is Thanksgiving in America. Obviously, I live in England, but I don't know where everybody in the chat's from. But anybody who doesn't live in America, tomorrow's Thanksgiving. And obviously then you have like all of the sales, don't you? You have Black Friday on Friday. The stock market closes. So there won't be any announcement now until next week at the very, very earliest, because the stock market will be closed from tomorrow onwards. So I'll be honest with you guys. I just think it keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And I wouldn't be surprised if we don't find out until mid-December. And then it'll be too late. It'll be too late for them to do anything in January, because from what I'm hearing, it will take the Premier League about 4 to 6 weeks to approve the contracts and the documents between Ineos and the Glazers. So I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, to be honest. Are they just going to write off the January window like they always do? Are they going to throw Eric Ten Hag under the bus and not back him and not give him the players he needs? Does this mean that Paul Mitchell and Jean-Claude Blanc won't be in January? Does this mean that all the focus is now going to be on the summer? I would probably say that yes, all the focus is now on the summer, to be honest. But we will obviously talk about some other players that are supposedly of interest in the January window and talk about how this could potentially happen. Because there is money there to be spent. We just have to be clever about it. Right, let's move over to the midfielder that we wanted to bring into the show, and that is Amadou Onana. Somebody I really, really like, obviously plays his football for Everton. We'll see him a bit more closely on Sunday when obviously we go to Goodison Park. Now, the story coming out this afternoon from a couple of different people in the UK is that Everton could now be forced to cash in on midfielder Amadou Onana in January to ease their financial woes. Obviously, for anybody who has been living under a rock, Everton have just been deducted 10 points for ultimately losing too much money in the space of a 3-year period. So they're in really, really bad financial troubles. There's a case being opened against them from a couple of teams who got relegated last year, who are trying to sue them for losses, for saying, they cheated, and if they hadn't have cheated, we might not have got relegated. And apparently they're trying to sue them for 300 million. So there's all of these different things that are coming Everton's way. And off the back of that, it looks like Amadou Onana, probably their best player and most valuable player, might be leaving in January. And the story says that Onana is on the radar of Manchester United and Chelsea. We spoke about Onana a lot in the summer, obviously not the goalkeeper, the midfielder. I think he'd be a quality addition. I really like Amadou Onana. Manchester United nearly signed him before he went to Everton. I think that was when Ralph Rangnick was here. It was one of those players that he wanted to bring in, and it didn't happen. I would go and get that deal done if we could. I think he would be a really, really strong option. I think Amrabat's been okay. I mean, I had somebody in the comment section the other day saying, like, why are you so critical about Amrabat? If anybody has been watching this show since we started about 6 months ago, right, you'll know how excited I was about Amrabat. I really, really was. I thought he was going to completely change the team. Now, yes, we've had injuries. Yes, he's had to play in positions he doesn't usually. But when I have seen him in midfield, I've not been completely blown away, to be honest with you. I haven't. Like, if somebody said to me now, would you keep Amrabat in the summer? I would probably say I'm 50-50. If they didn't keep him, I wouldn't be bothered. If they kept him, I'd be like, okay. Like, I don't think he's really shown us anything to this point that makes me say, he is world class, we have to get him. Like, I think he looks all right. Does he look better than Fred? I'm not sure. Does he look better than McTominay? Maybe in some areas. Is he better than Eriksen? Maybe in some areas. Like, he's not levels above any of them, is he? I don't think. Whereas I think Onana, for that defensive role, I think he is a very, very good player. Only 22 years of age as well. Amrabat being 27. And he'd be available for somewhere around 35 to 50 million euros. So there is a deal there to be done. I do want to actually start a poll of this, actually. I know maybe this is a little bit premature. Please, everyone, smash a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me have a look. Would you sign Amrabat on a permanent deal? All right, I've just done a poll. The question is, would you sign Amrabat on a permanent deal? Now, obviously, I appreciate we haven't seen that much of him, but just for argument's sake, let me know what you guys think. I at the moment, I'm 50-50. I'm sitting on the fence. I'm 50-50. Yeah, 50-50. I think it's too critical to say no, 100% get rid of him. But I'm not going to be sat here saying sign him over any other midfielder, because I don't think I can really say that yet. Joe says, Kieran, have you heard anything about United trying to deal for defensive midfielder Youssouf Fofana from Monaco? Yes, we did speak about him yesterday. Apparently Manchester United are interested in this Fofana guy. Another player I like, another player I think that could be a good addition. Apparently available for somewhere around 35 million euros. His contract expires in 2025. The problem with him, though, is Juventus and PSG are both interested in signing him as well. So there's a bit of a battle for this guy. He looks decent. He does. Youssouf Fofana, if anybody's not heard of him, go and have a little look. Those are the kind of 2 or 3 players that we're looking at for that midfield position. You've got Amadou Onana from Everton, Youssouf Fofana from Monaco. Obviously, there's the links with Kevin Thuram from Nice, who, because of the Jim Ratcliffe association. And then obviously you've got the potential that you keep Amrabat. Those are kind of our 4 different options at this moment in time. Fred says you shouldn't fall out with your twin, Amrabat. Yeah, I know, mate. I know. Somebody says I have not been impressed with Amrabat. Lumen says, Kieran, even a player like Rodri would fail in this team. Fair enough. Irvin says, Kieran, aren't we obligated to buy Amrabat in the summer? No, we have the option to pay. I think it's 9 million extra. We paid 9 million already. And if we want to sign him in the summer, I think it's around 20 million, taking the total deal to 30. So, it's not like we have him for free in the summer. We're going to have to pay around 20 million if we want to keep him. So you have to kind of factor that in when you're thinking about it. Let's have a look at the poll so far. 55% of you think we should keep Onana in the summer, and 45% of you say no. I have no issue with that. I'm 50-50 with it at this point. Like I said, we haven't seen enough of him really to fully judge him. What I have seen of him, I don't think it's been bad, but I don't think it's been good. I think it's been okay. And I'm hoping that we really, really see Amrabat go leaps and bounds in the next kind of 2 to 3 months. Lumen says, Kieran, if you were to choose between McTominay and Amrabat, who would you let go? I mean, if it was at this exact moment in time, based on form at the moment, I would let Amrabat go, because McTominay has been quite good the last 5 or 6 games. Do I think he's good enough to play for Manchester United on a permanent basis? No. Is he good enough for this, let's be honest, below average Manchester United side who are under-achieving? Yes. So if somebody... But then arguably, if somebody said in January you can get 50 million for McTominay, I would sell him and go and replace him with someone like, Kevin Thuram from Nice, Amadou Onana from Everton, Youssouf Fofana from Monaco. There are plenty of options out there who are younger and more suited to what we actually need. For me, McTominay is more of an attacking midfielder who's been stuck in the CDM position for far too long. You put him further up the pitch, he'll get goals, he'll contribute, and maybe he'll be worth keeping. Playing him in that CDM role, I think it's a complete waste, and I think he's not good enough. But in all fairness, he never was a CDM. Like, we've spoke about this so many times on the channel. He played his whole career at youth level as a striker. For some strange reason, Jose Mourinho came in and decided that he wanted to play him as a CDM. And ever since then, managers have seemed to keep playing him as a CDM. He's got 3 goals in the Premier League, take in mind, Scott McTominay, from a defensive midfield position. When you think Rashford's got 1, Højlund's got 0, like, that is pretty good, isn't it? But like I said, if, a West Ham, a Fulham, somebody comes in with a 40 to 50 million pound bid, I would probably take it in January. Farouk says McTominay is Moments FC. Yes, I'd probably agree with you there, mate. Hendrik says the player United need is Fofana of France. Mount needs to be sold. Okay, yeah, so you want Youssouf Fofana? I would be into that. Mount's not going to be sold, though. Whether it just won't happen. Pablo says, I'm hopeful that Erik ten Hag will pair Shaw and Varane at centre-back to push the line forward, and locking Onana and pushing Casemiro forward so Bruno and Mount can play as 2 8s and 10s. Yeah, mate, that sounds great. I like the sound of that. Scott says, I totally agree. McTominay is being played out of position and wasting his talent. Yeah, exactly. It's so easy to slag off McTominay, but he was never a CDM. Never. He wasn't. And there's a reason why he's so poor at CDM, because he's not a CDM. So just remind yourselves of that. Going forward in an attacking position, he gets goals. You cannot deny that. He scored at international level, right, this season. He's been absolutely banging in the goals for Scotland. He's the leading goal scorer, I believe, in the Euros qualifiers. I mean, let that just sink in for a minute. And that's because I think he's playing a little bit further up the pitch. So fair play to Scott McTominay. Hopefully he comes back from the international break and Yeah, he's got 7 goals in the Euro qualifying so far this season. I mean, that is really, really good, isn't it, for a midfielder? So fair play to him. Loomis says, Kieran, why didn't we go for James Ward-Prowse? I don't know, mate. You know what Manchester United and the Glazers are like. He probably wasn't a big enough name. Mason Mount probably had more followers on Instagram, so they thought, let's get him instead. Why did we not go for James Maddison? He's better than Mason Mount, and was half the price because he probably doesn't have an as big a brand appeal. If James Maddison was the number 7, everyone would be like, what? Even Mason Mount being the number 7 was a little bit, a bit strange. But imagine if we'd assigned James Maddison and tried to make him this like poster boy, massive player. Everyone would have been like, what? Yeah. I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you so much to everyone who has joined me on the show this evening. Please do make sure to smash a like before you leave. It really helps to bring more people into the channel. So if everyone likes the video before they go, it will really, really help the engagement and, to get more people to watch the videos and stuff. So please do that. And if you are new, please do subscribe. Bottom right-hand corner. I will be back, of course, tomorrow morning about 8:30. So make sure you hit that notification bell. And I will speak to you all tomorrow. Have a lovely morning, day, evening, wherever you are in the world. And I'll speak soon.